The wing market just changed lanes, and I'm coming to you straight one-on-one from a place of calm urgency. Because this is exactly the kind of moment that can tilt a season if you read it right. Act with discipline and refuse to chase noise. Tonight I'll put you inside the room the way I'd talk to a friend after practice. First, I'll lay out the real pulse around our rotation and where the holes still show up against the best teams. Then I'll map the league board and explain why one specific two-way wing has quietly become the hinge piece for multiple front offices. After that, I'll get tactical and show you how this archetype changes our late-game math with Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, our second unit spacing, and the minutes when the offense needs a connector more than a star. And only no final, I'll drop the name and the scenario that's gaining oxygen on the other coast, plus what it means for us. Whether we should intercept, piggyback, or hold the line and force a different domino to fall our way. I'm building to it for a reason, because the headlines will scream, but the film is whispering a cleaner truth about how we win in April and May. Let's start with our house. Identity under Darvin Ham's successor is re-centered around AD as the defensive sun, pace handled by guards who keep the ball moving, and a wing ecosystem that needs one more adult to make the offense feel inevitable when the game slows. We've seen the good stuff, Davis owning the elbows, guards playing two-man game into short roll reads, wings cutting with timing, second chance points that keep runs alive. But we've also seen 3 consistent pressure points against elite competition, when defenses top-lock our shooters and switch off-ball actions, when the short roll needs a second connector to keep the chain alive, and when we chase a mismatch late clock without a downhill threat who can punish a stunt with a simple cut or a one-dribble finish. Those are small cracks that become big headlines if you ignore them. And they're exactly where a certain 6'7" two-way wing, length, lateral pop, straight line force, willing cutter, changes everything without demanding touches. Zoom out with me to the west for 30 seconds. Denver still requires you to guard 5 reads on every possession and rebound like grown-ups. Minnesota's length stretches your spacing until the bad shots appear by themselves. Oklahoma City can play 4 handlers and erase your hide assignment. Dallas weaponizes late clock and lives on second-chance threes if your tags are soft. Sacramento throws waves of tempo and dares you to give up the first step on the wing. The Clippers are older but ruthless at exploiting your worst defender. And every one of these teams has one thing in common. They hunt your weakest wing in the final 6 minutes and make you pay in the middle of the floor. If you want to beat that gauntlet, you need a player who can be 2 things in one. Point of attack competent and low man literate on defense, short roll playmaker and corner spacer on offense. He doesn't need a segment on national TV. He needs to turn 3 ugly possessions into 6 clean points and 2 quiet stops. That's the separator. Now let's talk market reality, because the board always matters more than the rumor. The league is tight at the top. The new apron rules punish recklessness, and the best value sits in the mid-tier salary slots where a contender can add a playoff-ready wing without shredding the depth chart. That's where our front office lives right now, eyes open, protections ready, unwilling to burn a premium pick unless the piece is a clean fit next to AD and helps us survive the minutes when our primary creator sits. There are 2 ways to fail this season. Swing wild for a name that doesn't connect your lineups, or stay so safe you leave April with the same 3 cracks. The path through the middle is a 2-way wing who screens like a big, cuts like a wing, and thinks like a guard. He must guard 2s and 3s, survive on 4s for a few possessions, sprint the lanes in transition, and finish through playoff contact. He must embrace being the second mover, not the headline. On our side of the ball, picture the geometry when we get the archetype right. Empty corner pick and roll with AD as the pressure valve. Guard lifts away. Our wing sets the ghost screen for misdirection, slips into space at the nail, catches on the move, and turns the stunt into either a pocket bounce to AD for a dunk or a skip to the weak side corner for a rhythm catch and shoot. Next trip, same shell. But our wing slow plays it, seals a smaller defender, and shows that one dribble push shot that survives postseason officiating. Third trip, we invert. Let our guard screen for the wing, AD at the elbow as a handoff hub, and watch the defense panic because they can't sit in our shooter's airspace and help on the roll at the same time. When that's humming, the non-star possessions stop wobbling and start cashing. Defensively, he toggles between taking first contact against downhill guards, tagging rollers early with two hands, and closing under control to force a late extra pass, not a catch and shoot. That's how you hold a 6-point cushion on the road and stop the "we're one bucket away from a run" feeling from the other crowd. The second unit impact is maybe the most underrated piece for us. We've been fine in those pockets, not ruthless. A real wing connector gives our bench a backbone. He screens into slips for our shooters. He runs the lane for 2 cheap ones a night. He extends possessions with tip-outs. He steals a charge to flip momentum. And he lives in the corner as a viable spacer, so the paint doesn't collapse on every drive. He is the friend of every role player because he makes the game simpler. Let's layer in the health and variance question because we keep it grown up here. At his best, this archetype lives off rhythm threes, straight-line drives, and force at the rim. In his valleys, the jumper can go streaky and the handle can look upright. The answer isn't touches, it's diet. Get him the same 3 nurseries every night: corner catch and shoot, baseline drift, 45 cut. Get him 2 early clock transition reps so he sees the ball go in. And trust that the defense travels because it's built on technique and effort, not stardom. That's how you stabilize streaks and let him stack winning clips even on a 3-for-10 night. Now, the league board has started buzzing on the other coast about a fit in a system that values conditioning, cutting, and defensive accountability like a religion. You know the culture, you know the coach, you know the way they turn role players into playoff weapons. The fit there is obvious because they have a big who screens and short rolls like a guard, a shot creator who lives off 2-man game and kickouts, and a program that treats off-ball movement like oxygen. Put our archetype in their jersey and he becomes a slashing finisher, a corner spacer who punishes an extra step of help, and a switchable defender who lets them toggle between drop and switch without sending a second body. That's why their name is in this story. The question for us is whether we let it happen and react, or whether we intercept or reroute the deal to solve our problem and make theirs more expensive. I've been intentionally careful with names because I wanted you to feel the basketball first. Now let's talk plainly. The wing I'm describing is Andrew Wiggins, and the scenario gathering smoke is centered on the Miami Heat as a landing spot. What's the truth under the rumor? Wiggins at his best is a playoff-caliber 2-way wing who cuts with timing, guards across positions, and doesn't need the ball to be loud. He rebounded on the biggest stage. He finished through contact when the lights burned white-hot, and his best versions have always shown up next to stars who warp coverage. The Heat can sell him a role with Bam Adebayo as the hub, staggered actions with Harrow on the ball, and a culture that rewards endurance and detail. That's a basketball marriage that makes sense on paper, which is exactly why the Lakers need to have a position ready, not panic, but ready. 3 paths live on the table for us if Miami presses. Path 1 is interception. You challenge the market with a responsible, protected offer that respects your future while offering his current team a clean salary match, a lightly protected first and an outer year, and a rotation athlete who can play right away. Path 2 is value extraction. You step in as a third team, take on money the other 2 don't want, and convert it into a 3-and-D piece or a pick that compounds later. Path 3 is pressure and patience. You hold your line and make that deal so expensive in assets that the board frees a different wing who is 90% of the impact at 60% of the cost. All 3 are wins compared to sitting still and hoping the bracket ties itself in knots. Let's get granular on fit if we actually go for Wiggins, because that's where I get excited. First quarter at Crypto. Keep it simple. Slot Wiggins as the weak side wing opposite AD's elbow hub. Run Chicago, pin down into handoff for our lead guard. Watch the defense lean and let Wiggins 45 cut into the lane for 2. Next trip. Flip the floor. Empty corner PNR with AD. Wiggins lifts. Defender top locks. Wiggins ghosts into space. Catch. 1 hard step, finish. Third trip, same alignment. But we call Spain late. Wiggins as the back screener for AD's role, pop to the arc, and take what the defense gives. Lob, pop, or baseline cut. That's 3 families of easy points before the broadcast even finishes, the pregame sponsor read. The spacing looks better because he lives in the corners without pouting. The pace looks healthier because he runs, and the half-court looks tougher because he punishes help the second it blinks. Defensive film is where a lot of people will change their mind. Wiggins at commitment level toggles from on-ball stopper to roamer without losing discipline. He gets skinny at screens, he bothers pull-ups with length, he bodies bigger wings for a few possessions so AD doesn't have to see every collision, and he tags rollers early so our weak side corner isn't a fire drill. His closeouts have improved pace to balance control. He can contest and still sit on a drive. That's the difference between a good regular season wing and a postseason wing who holds up in the fourth. Paired with AD, it lowers the number of times we have to send a second body to protect the rim, which keeps our rebounding structure intact and reduces the scramble sequences that leak corner threes. I can hear the next questions in your heads, so I'll answer them straight. Touches for Reeves and our other creators? Safe, Wiggins is a second mover. He cuts into your space, not through it. He eats in transition, on the offensive glass, and off second side drive and kick. And when he does have to take a shot late clock, it's usually a one dribble pull or a strong take through the chest, not a possession-killing over-dribble. What about the jumper variance? That's roll diet. Keep him in corners and stamps, not as a primary above-the-break pull-up guy. Let his threes be the product of movement and collapses, not self-created step-backs. That's how you protect efficiency and his confidence at the same time. What about the contract math? This is the reality we all live in now. Mid-20s, money requires salary aggregation and forces you to be honest about what you value. You protect your best picks with layers of conditions. You add a swap in a year you project to be ahead of the seller, and you keep your books flexible for July. If the price goes silly, you walk. If it stays adult, you lean in because AD's prime is now, and a wing who solves 3 problems at once is how you respect it. Miami's fit is real, which is why the leverage battle matters. If they front-load rotation pieces and draft capital, great. Force them to pay and see if a different team folds and calls us about their wing instead. If the price stays sane, explore interception and ask the only question that counts. Does Wiggins next to Davis make our closing 5 matchup proof without costing us the depth we need to survive 2 rounds? If the answer is yes, you know what I'd do. Here's how the closing 5 could look on a given night if he's in purple and gold. Reeves handling with poise. Wiggins as the ghost screener or the 45 cutter. A spacer on the strong side wing to keep the corner honest. AD dictating coverage at the elbow. And your 5th toggling by opponent. Size if you need to punish the glass, shooting if you want to spam 2-man game. That 5 doesn't care about matchups because it can switch late, rebound by committee, and score without living on hero ball. And when the game gets violent, and it will in April, that group can take a hit and keep its shape. I'll also say this because the room deserves respect. Wiggins' best seasons arrived when the role was clear and the environment asked him to compete every possession. Our locker room has earned that standard. AD, our vets, and the staff police details. That's the soil where a 2-way wing grows back into the version that matters in May. And no, this isn't a promise that every night is clean. This is the commitment to a role that keeps helping even when the jumper is 1 for 5. My position, after walking you through the board, is optimistic and disciplined at the same time. The heat link is logical, which is exactly why the Lakers must be proactive. Either we intercept responsibly, we monetize the moment as a third team, or we leverage the price up and pivot to a wing on a parallel track. All 3 paths respect AD's window and the integrity of the roster. The only wrong move is pretending the market isn't moving. I want your voice in this before we land, because this community reads the game at a high level. If the number is a protected future first plus salary match and a rotation athlete, would you intercept Wiggins for a clean 2-way fit? Would you step in as the third team and turn that into assets? Or would you hold the line and force a different wing to shake free? Who's your closing 5 with Wiggins in the building, and which protections on the pick make you sleep at night? Drop your take with basketball reasons, not just names. I read everything, and the smartest comments always shape the next video. My concise read to close. The rumor has Miami written all over it for a reason, but the basketball case for Wiggins next to Anthony Davis is strong if the price is adult. He fills 3 gaps with 1 contract, lets Reeves keep the wheel without forcing it, and gives this defense the extra switch that turns a tough stop into a rebound we actually secure. If the market lets us do it without bleeding the future, I'm in, and if it doesn't, I want this front office squeezing every inch of value out of a 3-team structure so we still leave the deadline better than we entered. Either way, Lakers News Fan Report stays on this. Subscribe. Hit like, turn on the bell, and tell me below which path you'd take and why. Because this channel is for fans who want truth, timing, and the kind of straight talk that makes game night feel like you're already a step ahead.